up, everybody? It's your girl, Bobby Dean. Thank you for tuning in to yet another episode of Bobby's World. And today's lovely co-hosts are no other than my bestie, Ginnie Mae Trias, and her sister, Gerrica Trias. Please introduce yourself and let them know a little bit about yourself.
How's it going, you guys? My name is Gerrica. I'm Ginnie Mae's sister. I'm a professional fighter, and I also teach martial arts. So that's pretty much what I do for a living. And we're going to hear a little bit more while we're talking.
So can you tell everybody how you got into the fighting industry? Would you call it that?
Well, first off, into martial arts to start off with, because I never even thought I was going to be a professional fighter. Mm-hmm. So I grew up and I was watching a lot of Jackie Chan and Bruce Lee movies. So nice. That's what kind of inspired me to do it, because like, oh cool, like I want to do that. Or it's like, I actually wanted to be in like the movies, because like I saw like girls doing it too. I was like, oh man, that looks super cool. And so when I was like 10 or 11 years old, my parents put me into karate, and then I just pretty much stuck with it since. But then along the way, like since I was 4 years old, I've never been at a stop of sport. So the first sport was gymnastics, and then I just kept going from there, from like volleyball, basketball, everything with a ball, and anything with a board. My sister knows.
Yeah.
And so I knew that I wanted to be some type of professional athlete. And then down the line, I kind of just, as I was doing martial arts and doing sparring, kind of just fell in love with fighting, and so I kind of took that on.
Now, I feel like you guys come from a very athletic family. Like, I don't know if your parents have ever, like, taken up any sports or whatever, but for anybody who, like, dude, I wish you guys could, like, literally, do your parents have an Instagram? Because, low-key, like, people need to follow your parents. Like, they're always traveling. Like, they're both very in shape. Like, would you guys say that you guys kind of get it from your parents?
You think so? Yeah, I think so. My mom's pretty adventurous. I think my mom is more adventurous than my dad, but I know my dad told me growing up, like, he played a bunch of sports as well. So,
nice.
Yeah.
Badminton. And then being that you guys, I guess now that we're like establishing that you guys kind of do come from an athletic family, like, are you guys competitive, like, as a whole? Or have you guys ever been like, look, I'm gonna fuck your shit up? Like,
I don't think so.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. If anything, we like to help each other out.
Yeah, and I think it was never like even too much of an emphasis. Like, we did do athletics, but it wasn't like that was the thing. Yeah. Like, it was always like, you know how Filipinos are, like, oh, you're gonna be a nurse and be in the medical field.
I can't with you.
So it was like, it was that. It was not the other thing was just like something recreational.
So did your parents not know that this was gonna be something you were passionate about? Like, they weren't like from a young age like, this is it, like, let's put it. No,
they wanted me to, like any other Filipino, they wanted me to be a nurse. They compared us to all our other cousins.
Yeah, same here.
And at first, like when I started and I told them I was gonna fight and take that on, like, they were not for it at all. They were so against it, right? And so what's funny is
all of a sudden,
hold on. What's funny is I think I was like 18 or 19 years old, and this is when I was like boxing. And my dad and I were in the car. I don't think you know the story, but my dad and I were in the car and we were driving, and he was asking me, he's like, where do you see yourself like 5 to 10 years from now?
And you said,
honestly,
beating somebody's ass.
No, honestly, like, I don't know about you, but for me at that time, I was like, I had no freaking idea. And honestly, like, I felt like I was gonna go pretty young. Like, I even had like an age. I was like, 23. You know how they live fast that young.
Wow.
I don't know. Mm-hmm. I was like, but something like my intuition, my gut, just like, I told my dad, I was like, I don't know, but I pointed to a billboard. I was like, but you're gonna see me up there, watch.
Hey.
I was like, I feel it.
And then what they say, be practical, be a nurse.
And then and then what's crazy is last year I did my first professional fight for Glory, and Glory Kickboxing is the #1 kickboxing organization in the world.
Oh wow!
And so like I got to fight on TV and stuff like that. And so when we were rewatching the film at home, I was like, hey Dad, I was like, remember a couple years ago when I told you this? Did he say anything
about that? Was he like, oh shit, let me just...
No, he just laughed and stuff.
Yeah,
because ever
all
since...
all
of a sudden, when they saw that I started doing well, that's when they were like being more supportive about it. And he was even saying, oh man, you could beat this girl, this is that. I was like, whoa. He's like, you had never said that to me ever before.
Yeah. That's crazy. So you see like a big turnaround now.
Yeah.
Nice.
So,
I mean... now that they do see that and everything, I mean, would you say that they're more hands-on? Like, aside from, like, the emotional support, like, they come to fights, they do everything?
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
They're very supportive. They come to all my fights. My mom always disappears, though, like, when I'm about to fight. I didn't know, like, until my
But
family
you don't
brought it
ever
up.
get beat up. It's always the other
She
way
still
around.
watches, but I guess supposedly, like, she's with the crowd, and then when I'm about to come up, like, my uncles and my aunts and everybody's like, where'd your mom go? And I guess she's, like, all the way in the back, like, hiding.
Aw,
Yeah.
no, she doesn't want to see you, like, you know what I mean? Like, it could be a violent sport, so she just doesn't want to see you like that.
I know, I understand.
That's cute, though. Aw, I love it. So, being that you are a professional fighter and everything, like, what are some struggles that you feel like every fighter or any aspiring fighter should kind of be on the lookout for?
I think you can actually, this could go for anything, not just fighting, but like work or any other career. It's just there's certain steps and like certain things you have to get done in training and skills that you have to work on to be able to like obviously achieve a certain goal. And sometimes like maybe you get injured or like stuff comes up, schedules change, stuff with family happens, and so just having to like be very flexible and adaptable and to be able to work around all of that. So like not using it as excuse because like, oh man, I like broke or hurt my knee, is like I'm not able to like train anymore. Yeah, you can
like you gotta push through.
You can still do your upper.
Fought with her. Wasn't your leg messed up? And that's why you weren't doing any kicks, and all you were doing was throwing punches. Because her specialties are kicks.
Yeah. So like there was actually one fight. Nobody knew this, so just like certain people I was close to. There was one fight I did where I think it was something with my hip or my leg was messed up, so I couldn't kick. And so, like, I was like, all right, well, I can't kick, so I'll just focus on my hands. So I trained my boxing a lot. I was just training boxing. And then that fight, I just used my hand and ended up knocking the girl out with.
That was like a how many second fight?
That one was, I think it was a second round TKO. But my last one that was only like a 51 second fight. Yeah, so, I mean, yeah, just working through injuries, and just, I think that's one of the
biggest things.
Yeah, as a fighter.
And then what about for you? Like, what do you think helped to push you to the professional level that you've achieved?
Honestly, what's weird is even though I was not officially a professional, when I was training and still fighting as an amateur and stuff like that, for some reason I just always like felt like a professional or like saw myself as
you had that mindset.
So I was like, so I was there already. So when I went on to actually be professional, it didn't really like.
It didn't feel like too much of a transition.
Yeah, the only difference is just the actual name of like she's a professional now, but the way that I was like acting and like carrying myself was still the same.
Nice, that's what's up. Now as a female fighter, do you feel like there's any obstacles where you're kind of like maybe any issues with like the opposite sex where they're kind of just like, okay, it's cool, it's whatever, she's a girl fighter, like she's like, do you feel like they don't take you as seriously, or you're like, no, like everyone's respected in this industry?
I at least from where I came from and from where I grew up training, has been a lot of respect because we don't just fight girls. Like when I train, I actually fight with guys.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So yeah, and a lot of the guys that I fight when they train with, they all kind of have that respect for women as well, and they understand that we're all just human beings.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and so we'll still push each other. Like just because he's a guy, it's not like he's gonna take it easy on me.
Right.
It's like that's.
Like, I know it sounds silly, but it's like, you see movies, and in the movies, it's always like, oh, well, it's a girl, whatever, I could beat that ass, like, oh, whatever, like, I'm gonna challenge her in another way, and I'm gonna make sure to go harder on her, anything like that. Like, you haven't dealt with that?
Oh, actually, now that you bring it up, I have. So, how old was I? I think I was like 12 years old, and I was only an orange belt in karate. So, I was 12 years old, and I was just getting done with a class, and one of my classmates, I think her cousin had come visit from, I'm not sure where he was coming from, but he came to visit, and supposedly he trained also.
Okay.
And he was a purple belt. And so I think he was like talking crap or something like that, and so Mr. V, my instructor, he was like, oh, okay, it's like, well, here comes like spar like Gerrica and stuff, and so like he thought he was like all badass, and so like when I went to spar, I'm like, I whooped his butt, and it was so funny because he just, I don't know,
he wasn't expecting it.
He was not expecting it at all.
I'll let her.
So that kind of changed his mindset about girls.
Okay, and then now being that you guys are siblings, have you guys ever fought?
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
I feel like this whole time I thought the reason why you got into fighting is because I used to bully you when we were little. No?
So,
cool.
But
she
when
thought
we
she was
went,
special.
No, but that's good. That's a good
She was like
yeah.
expecting a speech from like Gerrica, then like when she got famous, like, oh, you know, thank to my sister for like beating my ass back in the days. Like, no, that's not it, Ginnie Mae.
No, it wasn't that. But yeah, we did. We fought a lot. It's funny because sometimes they were like, it could start off from an accident where maybe like, I don't know, I bump into her or like I throw her the remote control and then it hits her and she's like,
oh my God.
ah, you hit me. And then she's like, I'm like, fine. I was like, she's like, I'm gonna tell mom. I was like, no. I was like, here, you could hit me back. And so she hits me.
She's like, here, don't tell mom.
So she hits me back. I'm like, ah, you hit me harder. So I get to hit you back. And we just go back and forth.
My dad used to be so mad all the time, like, you guys fight too much.
Yeah,
you need to
we
love
fought.
each other. You guys are sisters, blah,
We
blah, blah.
hated each other
We
growing
hated
up.
each other
When did we
growing
start
up.
getting close?
When we started working out.
Yeah,
that we were really.
But
we
weren't
got
you guys
really
a little
close.
older? Because I feel like with my sisters, that kind of took a minute too for
Yeah,
us to
when we
kind of
got
like,
older,
you know what I mean?
definitely.
I don't know. I think that's most siblings.
No,
yeah.
no, because there's a lot of other siblings I know that like they were best buddies.
Like Jayla
up.
and Jeremiah,
Yeah.
my kids.
Yeah, that's like the best.
Okay, wait. Now, random question, but so like when your parents started seeing that your fighting was like doing good and everything like that, did they ever try to be like, oh, Ginnie Mae, you should try to fight? Like,
No, my parents pushed me in swimming because
swimming.
that's what I was good at.
You were super good at it, but you didn't like it.
I didn't like it. I was
She was
really good
really
at swimming,
good.
but I didn't enjoy it.
you weren't passionate about it.
Yeah, I didn't enjoy it. I was just good at it.
Yeah.
The stuff that I do enjoy, I'm not good at. Sadly.
It's okay. I mean, you
Yeah.
could like practice and stuff.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Look at her trying to be all cute and sisterly.
Yeah.
All right, so you know, I feel like anybody that does anything where there's a lot of eyes on them and stuff, like there's always like a really a crazy level of expectations, and just in general, like the bar gets set high for everything that you do. Like, do you feel like you even have to hold yourself accountable and to a certain level?
Are you talking? We're talking about when I'm actually like in the ring fighting, or just in general?
Just in general, like, do you hold yourself to like a certain level compared to like maybe other people?
I feel like, yeah, I do. Just because I know I'm not just like a professional fighter, so I teach also, so I have students that also look up to me.
Nice.
So
Aww.
I feel like, yeah, I have to lead by example and, yeah, do my best to lead the best example, I guess. So
That's what's up. So, like, okay, everybody knows that something that I guess I've been kind of itching to talk about, and because we're here, I felt like we should definitely talk about, for instance, like, let's say depression. Depression's something that I think a lot of people go through, whether everybody has their eyes on you or even you're like just a regular person, you know, like for instance, like Ginnie Mae, you got kids. I know we've had this discussion before. Gerrica, I feel like you got this, you know what I mean? Like people that are looking up to you, or even for instance myself, like my viewers don't know that I've dealt with depression, and this is something that I recently started opening up about this year.
Yeah.
I feel like depression is never easy to talk about,
No.
but it needs to be talked about. Can you talk a little bit about even like a time that you had to deal with depression, or that you dealt with it?
Yeah, I can. I'm not sure if you know about this. Maybe you do, but and this is the first time I'm actually saying it in like public, because other people that I'm close to, they know about it. So remember when I tore my ACL?
Yeah.
Okay, so I was in Ireland. This was in 2016, and I was also in a relationship at the time, and it was going good. And then so, long story short, I tore my ACL during that fight. And what's crazy is it was the beginning of the year, and I had already had my plans for the whole year. I was like, all right, I'm gonna do like what I'm gonna transition to, different fights I'm gonna have. So it was already planned out. And so I just remember like when I was in the ring in Ireland, and I didn't know it was torn at first. I just know something bad happened to my knee.
Like you felt
hurt,
it.
It hurt so bad I collapsed. and I still ended up finishing the fight, though. I was just punching. But, so I went to the ground, and I was just, like, saw the whole year just, like, it was just, like,
Before your
like
eyes.
a shot, like, my heart, like, down. I was like, it's over. So I didn't know what
year
to do.
you gained weight, right?
And then, what happened?
I said that year that's when you gained weight, huh?
Oh,
You were
yeah. I gained a lot.
Do you feel like that played a part in your depression? Because I feel like that's going to sound silly, but even one of the times when I went through a depression was because of that. Because I gained a lot of weight and I wasn't ready for it.
I mean, that could also be part of it, but I think for this one, it was more so the ACL tear. And then when I got back from Ireland, I got my heart broken. So, like...
Everybody knows that shit hurt like a motherfucker.
And so usually, like, how I deal with things, I'll go and I'll, like, work out just to keep myself busy. So, like, I'll work out or I'll go, like, hit stuff. But I couldn't do anything because I was, like... So I just remember just, like... And I couldn't talk to anybody at the time because, first off, nobody knew I was in that relationship that I was in. And... So I just remember, like, and even my dad, like, I'd be laying down on my bed, and I guess he felt something was off, and he just would walk in, he opened the door, he's like, are you okay? And I just fake it, and just like, yeah, but I just, like, lay in my room, not get out of bed, and literally, like, I don't know if this is how you felt, but my bones, I had never felt this way before, like, the chemistry in my body, my bones felt like noodles, like, my whole body went soft, like, I felt so weak. It was so bad, and because I couldn't, like, I didn't feel like I couldn't talk to anybody, I kind of, like, was crazy, and there was, like, a mirror in my room, and I was just, like, I just talked to myself.
Yo, like, I don't know if other people fucking do that, but sometimes I feel like that kind of helps.
Yeah,
whether
it does.
In a sense, it's like you're practicing what you want to say to other people, or not just that, but it's just kind of like, look, bitch, you need to get it out. And I'm just going to talk to myself about this shit real quick. Like, we're going to pep talk ourselves out of this. Like, I don't know. Like, is that kind of how you look at it?
Yeah. So, like, I just, like, talk to myself. And then the other thing is, because sometimes it's hard for me to, like, say it verbally or what I feel just because I'm feeling so much. So I ended up, like, drawing or painting. But another thing I like to do is, like, write. So I'll, like, write poems and stuff like that.
Oh, that's what I'm going to say. I like to write out my problems, and then after reading everything, reflect on it. And then, me personally, I delete it. I don't want to remind myself
of that feeling. Yes.
So I just read it, address it, and recognize what the issue is, and then try to find a solution for it. And then once I got that figured out, I delete it.
I was going to say, I feel like for you, Ginnie Mae, like, call me crazy, but I feel like people put a lot of pressure also on moms. Like, because usually, no one wants to admit this. I know we got some dads up in here in the studio real quick, but it's alright. They could cover their ears for 2 seconds. The moms realistically are the head of the household. Moms tend to do a lot for the family unit, and I feel like because of that pressure, a lot of people look at moms like, you're not allowed to be depressed, like, you gotta focus on the kids, like, you don't have a minute for yourself. And it's like, that couldn't be any farther from the truth. Like, because you do so much for others, like, you deserve to feel how you feel. Like, would you agree? Like, do you kind of feel like you get that pressure? Like, focus on your kids, Ginnie Mae. Like, you know what I mean?
Think about your kids, because sometimes, like, when I was going through that depression mode, all I wanted to think about is, like, dying. I didn't want to be here anymore.
Oh my god, I felt like running away. I wanted to go to Hawaii. I was ready to take a flight to Hawaii.
Hawaii sounds lovely.
That's better. That's better. You're thinking about vacation. I'm over here thinking, like, I don't want to be here.
I've thought about that, though. I've thought about that too.
But I get what she's saying, because I mean, it can come off like a vacation, but realistically, to anybody else that isn't dealing with depression, it's like you're running away from your problems, like you're escaping, like, you know. Yeah,
but that's the other thing too. Now that you mention it, is when I was talking about, you know, how I talked to myself, because I knew that it's okay. It's like, you know how sometimes the people, like, you have your friends come over or some type of family member just to kind of comfort you and stuff, which is not bad. But then I thought to myself, you know, I was like, if I have somebody to talk to, they could come over. They could only comfort me for so long, but when they're gone, it's me again. So I'm gonna have to deal with it myself regardless. So that's why I just ended up talking to myself.
Now, if you don't mind me asking, but do you still go through any little, like, episodes of depression?
Recently I have, yes. But part of what, like, helps me to keep going is just, I don't know, setting goals
I agree.
Yeah, and then just taking steps towards that, living a healthy lifestyle helps a lot.
Does it help you also to like take it one day at a time? Because for me that helps. Like, okay, call me silly. I know a lot of people don't believe in the whole horoscope shit, but I'm one of those motherfuckers that believes in like being true to your zodiac sign or whatever. And like, I'm a Virgo. We're very organized. We're all about planning. Like, when one little thing doesn't go how we planned, oh, we lose our shit. So for me, that often like can play a part in when I have a episode of depression or whatever. That's why when you were saying like when you saw that injury and you felt like all your future plans were like falling apart, like I get that. I can for sure relate to that. Yeah. But for me, because I'm always focused on my next step, I've also had to remind myself like it's okay to take it one day at a time. Like, I don't have to always think long term. Like, it's okay to just literally focus on that day and getting through that. Like, does that help you too?
Yeah, it does. And the other thing too is just knowing like what happened to me, how I had that whole plan, planned out that year, is that your goals could still stay the same, and you just gotta take a different route. And so it's not always, sometimes we expect for it to be done, sometimes we expect for it to be done a certain time, but the universe or whatever just, steers you in a different direction. And sometimes they'll take longer, sometimes they'll take sooner, so it's not just about, how long is it gonna take me? It's like, so now just be like, alright, how far can I go with this? Or I'm just gonna keep going till, I get there.
And see, I like that, because in a sense, that's basically positive thinking. Yeah. I do think that positive thinking can definitely help with depression. But now, how do you ladies feel when people are like, oh my god, being depressed is just a mindset? Like, I don't know about you guys, but I feel like I take that offensively, because I don't feel like depression means you're weak. I definitely don't think that depression means that you're a negative person. I feel like going through depression just means that you handle your emotions a little bit differently. And I don't know about you guys, but for me it just feels like sometimes your emotions literally just get the best of you, and that shit just feels like a little wave that kind of sweeps you away. And next thing you know, you're kind of like, fuck, like I'm literally just trying to get to the surface. Like, I'm just trying to get out of this shit. Like, I'm fighting for this all day every day. Like, can you guys relate to that?
Yeah. And at first, because I grew up in such like a hard mindset like environment, at first I was just like always thought, I was like, oh man, this is not like good. It is in myself, like I'm being a pussy or whatever. But finally, like, I just, I understand, I'm human, like, we're human. It's okay to feel things. Like, it's okay to be there. Literally. It's okay to have that depression, just as long as you don't stay there. That's something different.
I agree.
Like,
I agree.
That's different.
I do think that, like, would you guys say, like, in the Filipino culture, like, people look at you guys like you're not allowed to feel that way? Yeah. Because I know in the Dominican culture, because we are basically, like, Afro-Latinos and stuff like that, like, I feel like it's just, like, what the fuck is that? Like, they don't have that mindset, like what's depression? Like, it sounds so stupid, but they literally look at it like, what are you talking about? Like, that doesn't exist. Like,
the doctor, did I tell you what the nurse told me when I was in the hospital for depression? And she basically told me, people have bigger problems than you. I know my problems are valid.
I know when you told me that really bothered me, because I'm not even gonna lie. For me, that's why for a really long time I never told people that I would battle with depression. Like, it was really hard for me to open up, and this year I finally decided to open up to people and let them know, because I'm like, you know what, like, hey, it's okay for me to admit that sometimes I need help, whether it's emotional support or somebody literally just like coming over. Like, I need that sometimes. So even with you, when you were saying like the whole like, hey, I'm not a fucking like pussy, like, you do feel like that, because sometimes you're like, damn dude, like, I need to shake this shit off, like, what's wrong with me? But then it's like, reminder, it's okay to feel this way. Like, it's okay to go through the motion of it.
Yeah, because you're human. Like, we all have feelings. But I feel like, when somebody tells you something like that, maybe they're going through some, like, there's other problems out there that are worse, which is true. But the feelings, I think that's all relative, because I could be going through something that seems so much smaller than what you're going through, but the way I'm feeling could feel the same way as you're feeling.
I agree, because it's basically like everyone's feelings are valid, and I feel like even that's something that people, like, if you have a friend in your life, or if someone just opens up to you about depression, like, I feel like you need to be respectful of what they're saying and not say negative things like that.
Yeah.
Because something like that can trigger somebody and make them shut down, or even worse, but make them have, like, suicidal thoughts. Like, that shit's real.
Yeah.
I think that that's also another reason, like, for instance, I know you guys have heard this a million times, but in the Black community, you never... or it's not very common to hear that a black man is depressed or anything like that, because I do think that Black men are held to different standards, where it's like they always got to be strong, they always got to be, like, you know what I mean, like that male figure. So when a man does open up and says, like, hey, I feel some type of way, it's like, it goes back to what we were saying earlier, like the, oh, you're weak, or you're this or that, and it's like, that doesn't make anybody weak at all. Like, you're just,
I think that makes you
feeling strongly.
because
Yeah.
that, like, being vulnerable like that, it takes a lot of, like, strength and vulnerability to even be even open in that way.
I
So,
agree. And just in general, I feel like people need to give people that battle depression way more credit, because it's literally, it feels like an internal battle all the fucking time. And for you to have to fight yourself, because that's literally how it feels all the time. Like, you're fighting yourself. Like, bro, you are strong. So anybody that's watching this, that's going through depression, I just want you guys to know, like, you're not alone. A lot of people go through this, and it's okay to talk about it. You just got to find the right circle to open up with, because no one should be judging you for feeling any type of way that you're feeling.
Yeah, like, if you use working out as an analogy. So, like, let's say if I'm, like curling 8 pounds, and my sister over here is, like, curling 20 pounds, and we're doing the same reps, but I'm struggling over here, and she's also struggling, but we're both struggling the same way. I'm just lifting a lighter weight.
Literally.
You know? So,
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Fuck depression, y'all. Fuck depression.
I believe in taking meds for that, though, because they try to prescribe me Prozac, and I was just like, nah,
No.
I don't want pills.
Well, to be honest, I feel like for everybody it works differently. I mean, I'm personally not a fan of pills unless it's something, like, super extreme, like if you're gonna go for surgery or something like that. But I would prefer a more herbal route, if you will. I just believe in the more natural route.
it's just a plant.
Yeah,
you
you
just
know?
happen to light it up. There just seems to be some special effects.
I mean, there's other plants too. Maybe you light a little sage, clear the air in your apartment, your house, whatever. You know, whatever works for you. I don't know, but I would prefer that people kind of do that first, or even then just, like, therapy, talking to someone. Like, that helps so fucking much. Like, but I don't know, I'm not judging if anybody does take pills. I mean, like I said, whatever works for you. There's a lot of people that don't believe in cannabis. They don't support it, they're not for it, so those people might prefer a pill or whatever. But
we were talking about cannabis.
Wow.
I can't. Yo, she just went over her head on that one. That's okay, that's all right. Hilarious. But you know, 420 is 420 somewhere, so smoke up if you're listening to this and you're supporting this podcast, because we're 420 friendly over here.
What's the date today?
This whole part, the 22nd.
She was hoping it was 14.
Right? No, not yet. We passed that already. Oh my god. But I would just like to take a sec to thank you for being here today with us. Thank you for speaking so openly, and thank you for sharing, like, your words of wisdom with everybody.
Yeah.
Would you like to add anything for the lovely viewers?
I don't know, can we multiply and divide instead? I'm just kidding.
Sure. Whatever you want.
I'm good.
Can you actually tell them any of your social media links that you would like for them to follow you on, so they can stay up to date? Possibly any upcoming fights?
Yes, my Instagram is It's Gerrica, so it's ITSGERRICA, and my Facebook is just Gerrica Trias, so my first and last name. I do have a fight coming up in October. I'm not sure the date yet. It'll be local around the LA area, so I'll keep you guys updated on my social media.
Hell yeah. And Ginnie Mae, let them know where to follow you at.
You can follow me at Ginnie Mae Trias. That's GINNIE MAETRIAS.
So many letters. Oh my god.
Imagine if I use my whole name, Ginnie Mae Malari Trias.
Girl. Bye. And you guys already know where to follow me, but just in case you guys are new, you can follow me at BOBBi_Dean, and that's Bobby with an I. Do not add no E. It ain't a Y, okay? And follow the podcast.
My name
Support
is
that.
Bob.
It's just
BKOB.
at Bob.
That's BKOB. The K is silent.
I hate you guys. Anyways, thank you guys for tuning into another episode of Bobby's World. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure to follow us on Spotify, SoundCloud, and iTunes. We're everywhere. Thank you.